I'm Victor Hale. Let's understand how smart men get promoted faster. Most men misunderstand promotion because they see it as an event, a letter, a title, a visible upgrade. But promotion is never an event. It's a conclusion drawn quietly over time by people who are watching without announcing that they are watching. Long before a man is elevated in position, he is evaluated in posture, how he carries himself when nothing is guaranteed, how he behaves when effort is unnoticed, how he reacts when outcomes are uncertain. This evaluation does not happen in meetings, it happens in daily moments, casual conversations, unexpected pressure, silent observation. Most men believe that sincerity will protect them, that if they remain honest, hardworking, and patient, the system will eventually respond. Sincerity earns trust, but trust does not alone earn movement. Movement requires readiness, and readiness is psychological. A ready man does not rush, he does not plead, he does not collapse inward when results are delayed. He holds himself as if responsibility already belongs to him, even when it hasn't been handed over yet. A man is promoted in the mind long before he is promoted in position. This pattern is not limited to jobs only, it repeats everywhere. In families, responsibility is given to the one who doesn't create noise under stress. In society, influence gathers around the one who doesn't break under tension. In any hierarchy, visible or invisible, advancement follows stability. Men who rise early understand something most never notice. Effort is expected, but control is respected. Effort shows capacity, control shows maturity. Most men work harder when they want to rise. Smart men work steadier. They don't increase motion, they increase composure. They understand that people above them are not looking for enthusiasm, they are looking for relief. Someone who will not add another variable to an already complex system. Effort earns survival, position earns protection. This is why many capable men remain stuck despite doing everything right. They keep performing tasks but never shift posture. They keep delivering output but never signal readiness for weight. They wait for recognition to change how they stand, when in reality, how they stand decides recognition. Promotion then is not about ambition, it's about alignment. Alignment between what you can handle and what the system is afraid to lose control over. Once a man understands this, the confusion ends. He stops asking why others move ahead. He starts adjusting how he exists inside the structure. And this awareness, this internal shift, is where real ascent begins. Once a man understands that promotion is decided internally before it appears externally, a more uncomfortable question emerges. If posture matters more than effort, then why do so many sincere, capable men still remain behind? Because the answer is not failure, but loss happening quietly. Loss does not arrive as a failure, it arrives as delay. Most men do not lose because they are incapable. They lose because they remain in a posture that once worked, long after it stopped serving them. Good men often believe endurance is a strength. They stay longer, they tolerate more, they adapt quietly. They assume that consistency will naturally convert into elevation. But systems do not reward patience by default, they reward positioning. A man can be loyal, sincere, and skilled, and still remain exactly where he started, not because he lacks value, but because his value is predictable and contained. Predictable value is used, and contained value is elevated. Good men also lose because they mistake loyalty for leverage. They give time, energy, and emotional investment, believing these deposits will be acknowledged later. But loyalty without a strategic weight creates dependency, and dependency is never promoted. Never. Loyalty without leverage makes a man useful, not valuable. Another slow loss comes from invisibility disguised as humility. Silence is often praised, but silence without presence trains the system to move without you. Men who never assert clarity when it matters become optional, not disrespected, simply bypassed. This is not punishment, this is efficiency. Men also lose by staying inside assigned boundaries. They solve what they are told to solve. They execute what is handed to them. They wait for permission to think beyond their role. But elevation does not come from execution alone. It comes from ownership of pressure. The world does not reward the best men. It rewards the most recognized men. Recognition does not come from visibility alone. It comes from relevance at critical moments. And the form of loss is emotional leakage. Explaining too much, justifying delays, reacting defensively when outcomes are questioned. Authority does not confront this directly. It simply adjusts expectations downward. Men don't realize this adjustment has happened until someone else is chosen. Someone calmer, someone less emotional, someone who created less friction under stress. At that point, confusion sets in. Confusion turns into quiet resentment. Resentment freezes growth because a man who feels wronged stops observing clearly. Loss then is not dramatic, it is subtle misalignment repeated daily. And until a man recognizes how he is losing, he cannot change the direction of his ascent. When loss repeats without confrontation, it stops feeling accidental. It starts feeling patterned, and patterns demand explanation, not emotion. If good men are losing without realizing it, then something invisible is deciding outcomes long before they surface. That invisible process is not opinion, it is selection. Most men believe selection is based on merit. That belief is comforting. It allows them to remain sincere without becoming strategic. But selection has never been moral. It has always been functional. Those who decide do not ask who deserves to move forward. They ask who can carry consequences without creating new ones. Every elevation is a transfer of risk. Responsibility only moves upward when danger moves downward. This is why effort alone never convinces authority. Effort increases output. It does not reduce uncertainty. Decision makers live inside pressure you never see. Their survival depends on predictability, not promises. Promotion is a risk decision, not a reward decision. This is where many men feel uncomfortable because it means sincerity is not enough, because it means talent can be postponed indefinitely. A man may be brilliant and is still unsafe, unsafe to trust, unsafe to delegate to, unsafe to live alone with wit. So the system watches how you behave when you are not chosen, how you react to delay, how you carry disappointment. A man who becomes bitter exposes instability. A man who remains composed signals readiness. Authority notices pattern, not movements. One emotional leak can outweigh years of discipline. This is why loud intelligence often loses. Why dramatic competence is admired but not advanced. Why calm, unremarkable men quietly rise. Power does not look for excellence first. It looks for safety. Men who understand this stop trying to impress upward. They start reassuring upward. They reduce friction. They stabilize outcomes. They make decisions easier for those above them. They don't narrate their effort. They don't market their struggle. Because power does not trust the man who explain themselves too much. Explanation is often an attempt to control perception after losing control internally. Selection also favors familiarity, not favoritism. Familiarity with strength patterns. Unpredictable men scare systems. Predictable strength calms them. By the time our choice becomes visible, it is already old. The discussion was a formality. The decision was emotional, made long before it was logical. Men don't lose selection in meetings, they lose it in daily behavior. And until a man accepts this, he will keep preparing for opportunities that are never meant for him. Once selection is understood, blame dissolves, anger fades, confusion settles, because clarity replaces guessing. And when a man stops guessing how decisions are made, he can finally begin moving deliberately instead of reacting emotionally. Smart men do not rise by force, they rise by design. They understand that promotion is not seized in the moment of intensity, it is built quietly in moments that look ordinary from outside. While others chase visibility, smart men focus on reliability. They know attention can be earned quickly, but trust compounds slowly. People above you do not remember how impressive you sounded. They remember how steady you were when pressure arrived unexpectedly. Your worst behavior decides your ceiling. This awareness changes how a man behaves daily. He stops performing for approval. He starts preparing for responsibility. Smart men are deliberate with words. They speak when clarity is needed, not when emotions demand expression. Silence, used correctly, becomes their strength. They do not rush to prove intelligence. They allow competence to surface through outcomes. Men who talk the least often move the most. And the difference lies in how they handle problems. Smart men do not wait to be assigned difficulty. They notice where tension lives and move toward it calmly. They take ownership of outcomes, not just tasks. Tasks keep a man busy. Outcomes make him relevant. Smart men also understand replacement value. They organize their work in a way that makes their absence noticeable, not through dependency, but through structure. When others feel less stable without you, movement begins naturally. They manage emotions with maturity, not suppression, regulation. They don't export frustration upward or sideways. They process it privately and return composed. This emotional control does not go unnoticed. It signals readiness without announcement. Smart men also respect timing. They do not push for recognition prematurely. They allow trust to mature before ambition surfaces. Success then appears effortless to observers. But internally, it is the result of discipline without display. Smart men rise because they make progression feel safe, not dramatic, not risky, just logical. Deliberate movement creates results, but results alone do not guarantee permanence. What truly decides how far a man is allowed to rise is not what he achieves once, but what he removes repeatedly from the system around him. That removal has a name: value. Value is not what you do, value is what stops needing attention because of you. Most men believe value is effort multiplied by time. That belief keeps them busy for years and confused for decades. Effort produces output, value produces relief. Relief from mental pressure, relief from uncertainty, relief from the fear that something might collapse when attention moves elsewhere. People do not elevate those who try hard, they elevate those who make the environment quieter. This applies everywhere. In work, the man who stabilizes outcomes is trusted more than the man who produces flashes of brilliance. In families, responsibility moves towards the one who does not create emotional turbulence. In society, influence gathers around those who do not demand reassurance. The man who reduces mental load rises automatically. A smart man senses where pressure lives, not where recognition lives, where pressure lives. They notice hesitation in decisions, delays in action, moments where authority feels stretched thin. They step into those spaces without any announcement, not to be seen, but to hold weight. This is where value is born. They don't solve problems to look capable, they solve problems so others can breathe. And breathing space is the rarest luxury in any system. Value also exists in emotional containment. A man who can hear stress without absorbing it becomes a natural anchor. He does not spread panic. He does not echo anxiety. He does not escalate tension. He absorbs, processes, and returns steady. Predictability is the highest form of trust. And the depth of value lies in discretion. What you can carry without repeating matters more than what you can contribute loudly. Trust is not built by sharing information. It is built by not leaking it. Authority watches closely who can be trusted with unfinished thoughts, half formed decisions, and private concerns. Men who talk too much disqualify themselves quietly. Value also compounds when people begin relying on you without instruction. They don't call you because they have to, they call you because things feel safer when you are involved. This reliance is not dependency. Dependency weakens systems, reliance strengthens them. A smart men understand this distinction deeply. They structure their work, their presence, and their responses so that their absence creates friction, not chaos, but noticeable friction. When replacing a man feels mentally expensive, movement begins. Value outlives talent. Talent excites briefly. Value sustains continuously. A man who creates relief becomes necessary. A necessary man is never left stagnant. And when value becomes associated with your name, promotion no longer depends on timing, persuasion, or luck. It becomes inevitable. When value becomes clear, illusions begin to collapse because value demands discipline, not comfort. It exposes habits that feel harmless but quietly disqualify men over time. To move forward honestly, those habits must be seen without cruelty, but without denial. Some truths are avoided not because they are harsh, but because they require responsibility. Most men do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they carry invisible habits that quietly disqualify them. Habits that feel harmless, even justified. Complaining is one of them. Not loud complaining, subtle complaining. The kind that wears the mask of honesty. It signals something dangerous to any system, that pressure will be passed upward instead of absorbed. Authority does not punish this, it simply adjusts expectations. A man who complains becomes predictable in the wrong way. The moment you complain, you volunteer to stay where you are. And the illusion men hold is that being agreeable ensures safety. So they soften their edges. They avoid disagreement. They trade clarity for comfort. But clarity is not aggression. It is respect for reality. Systems do not trust men who bend easily. They trust men who can remain steady while still being reasonable. Being liked feels reassuring. Being relied upon is transformative. Many men also believe honesty must be immediate. That truth must be spoken the moment it is felt. But timing is not dishonesty, it is wisdom. Truth spoken without awareness creates friction. Truth carried until it can be held creates progress. Results forgive personality. Excuses never do. And the quiet disqualifier is emotional overflow. Not emotion itself, overflow. Men who leak frustration upward, sideways, or publicly creates instability. Men who regulate emotions privately create confidence. This does not make a man cold, it makes him safe. Authority does not need emotional brilliance, it needs emotional containment. One more truth settles everything. No system promotes potential alone. Potential is admired, stability is promoted. Men who wait to be fully ready wait too long. Men who are stable enough are moved forward and shaped along the way. Once a man understands these truths, he stops feeling wronged by outcomes. He stops arguing with reality. He begins aligning with it. And alignment is the most peaceful form of power. Once illusions fall, something rare happens. The mind stops resisting reality. There's no bitterness left to fight with the world. Only clarity remains. And clarity does not ask what to avoid, it asks how to live from here onward. Everything we have explored leads to one quiet understanding. Promotion is not something you chase, it is something that happens when your presence becomes easier to trust than your absence. The man who rises does not become someone new, he becomes consistent. Consistent in pressure, consistent in response, consistent in emotional control. He does not shift posture based on reward or recognition. He stands the same when he is watched and when he is ignored. Men who rise don't demand space. Space is cleared for them. This man stops seeking validation from outcomes. He understands that outcomes follow posture, not effort. He chooses long term positioning over short term relief. He resists the urge to explain himself. He allows behavior to speak where words once did. Across every arena of life, this posture is rewarded. In work, he becomes the one trusted with wit. In family, he becomes the one relied upon in uncertainty. In society, he becomes the one people lean toward without knowing why. He does not need to announce ambition. Ambition that is carried quietly becomes authority. Calm is not weakness, it is rehearsed strength. This man does not wait to feel confident. He behaves responsibly first and confidence follows. He does not wait to be chosen, he becomes choosable. When difficulty arrives, he does not shrink. When opportunities arise, he does not rush. He understands that stability attracts responsibility the way gravity attracts matter. Once this posture settles into a man's life, promotion becomes irrelevant as a goal because movement begins happening naturally, without negotiation, without begging, without luck. Not because the world is fair, but because systems always move toward what feels safe to rely on. And when you become that man, life does not need convincing, it responds. Take care, my friend.